This is my first groundbreaking, so please forgive me if I run roughshod over the protocols. I'll do my best. It's my great pleasure to welcome you all to the groundbreaking ceremony for the Mamaroneck Public Library's renovation and expansion. It's been said that in every community, the greatest sign of its faith in its own future is their public library. We're living through some interesting times these days, but when I look at the crowd assembled here and all the people in our community that have come forward to make our public library what it should be, I have great faith in Mamaroneck, and it's someplace I'm very proud to be from today. Mamaroneck also has so many people whose support, expertise, and energy have brought us to this remarkable day that this is probably only a partial list, so I'll do my best with that too. We have, first of all, our founding donor here, Mrs. Lynn Strauss. Lynn and her late husband Phil's very generous gift to this library got this project up and running. Not only that, but their generosity then inspired people from all over the community to give donations of their own. Mamaroneck is also fortunate to have elected officials who have tirelessly and, I must emphasize, successfully sought funding for this project through various government grants. Congresswoman Nita Lowy, State Senator Susie Oppenheimer, please. Assemblyman George Latimer have all supported this library project from the very beginning, and we're very lucky to have them working for our community. We're also very happy to have with us today Westchester County Legislator Judy Myers. Judy, thank you so much for being here and for supporting us. Now I'd like to ask Congresswoman Lowy to please come up and say a few words to us. You'll need this. Okay, this is where it may all go a little south, so I'm going to try my best.
That's quite all right. Can you hear me without it, since this one is not... Oh, look at that. This is very high-tech, Helen.
Well, it is. I'm not. Let's try that.
Well, good morning, and thank you, Helen Rafferty, for your leadership and all the good work you've done. It's always a pleasure to be here with my good friends and colleagues, George Latimer, Susie Oppenheimer, Judy Myers, John Hostetler, who else is Kathy Savolt, right in the, I knew I shouldn't have done that. You can introduce her. Kathy Savolt, all the good people who are here today, Mr. Joel Azarad, and there are so many people who have worked so hard. I've known Lynn Strauss working with her on everything, and she's always front and center, and we really appreciate it. It's good to be with all the village trustees and the village board, because it was working together that really made this a reality. Today is a great day for the residents of Mamaroneck as we break ground on this very wonderful, exciting project. When I first heard about the renovation campaign for the Mamaroneck Library, it was very clear to me that it was the library board that recognized the importance of updating key components of this beautiful building. And what was so important to all of you who were involved at the beginning was maintaining its historic appeal. You had community meetings with residents, focus groups, surveys. The board ensured that the community would have its say on the expansion. And this really is the key component for any project. It encourages community involvement, and certainly the support for the library has only intensified. And it couldn't come at a better time for this library. Circulation has increased over 40% in the last 5 years. More than 100 reference inquiries every day, I'm told. And the after-school tutoring programs, the book clubs, the internet classes that are offered by this library make such a difference in this community. That's why I am so pleased to be your partner in this effort. It's going to take a lot of effort on the part of all of us, a lot of funding on the part of all of us, and what is also exciting to me is that the renovations will include an ADA-compliant access to the library, new safety improvements, new security system. So it really makes an extraordinary difference that there are so many of us that have participated in this project. Now, what is also special here is the involvement of those of you who specialize in historic preservation and promoting green building and design practices. There is no denying, even though gas prices are going down these days, that energy prices have had a tremendous impact on our families, our economy, and this community. So it is very encouraging for me to see that the renovations at the library will involve sustainable building practices, helping to make this historic 1927 building meet contemporary needs. Lynn, I'm not sure that we're ready to be called historic, right? I couldn't help but think of the designation, but we won't give away any secrets of anybody in this room. Because incorporating these elements is not only important, but it will help to inspire the environmentalists and for those who focus on historic preservation for years to come. If this library can implement these elements in a challenging 81-year-old building, they can certainly be emulated elsewhere. So let me just close by telling you what a pleasure it is for me to represent all of you with all my good colleagues in government who are here today, and to tell you how excited I am about this project. And I know we're all going to continue to work as hard as we can so we can be doing the next presentation in the new building.
Spring 2010.
Very exciting, and thank you so much for your leadership.
Thank you.
Thank you. Unmic me here.
Thank you again. Take your time. I'd now like to ask State Senator Susie Oppenheimer to join me at the podium. Susie, please. May I mic you?
Yeah, mic me.
Mic.
Well, I found a little hill to stand on. For once, I can see over the podium. Well, I guess nobody's happier. No, I shouldn't say that. Many people are happy. I was about to say nobody's happier than me, because I use this library very, very often, and I take out audio books because I don't have a lot of time, as you may imagine. I don't have a lot of time to sit down and read books. I read all the time, but I don't have the time to read books. And so, as Helen knows, I come in here for audio books, and the audio books circular, whatever that thing is, it's right almost at the front door. So you walk in the front door and you bang your nose against the audio book turnstile. And so at least I'll be able to stand back and take a better look in the future. But this is so important. Helen made reference to this, but it's a fact that we know that when people move into a community, they look at a few things. And the first thing usually is the ambiance, what services are offered by the community, the quality of the schools. We know that's a very important thing here in Westchester, and that's why a lot of people move here. But then the other thing is the library. Through many surveys, we have found that the library is of great importance in the property values that we all share. So I think this is a boost for all of us. And lastly, it's possible that I may become the chairman of the Education Committee in the Senate soon. And the library budget is under the budget of the Education Committee. And all I can say is, with my love of libraries, I certainly hope to do whatever I can for our library and for all libraries, but particularly, they have managed so well in such difficult circumstances that they deserve the support of all of us. And as Helen knows, every time she was making a presentation to community groups, I was there, because there's nothing really so important. Education and libraries go hand in hand. And I just want to say to Lynn Strauss, Lynn is one of the people that puts her money and her efforts after what she says. When she speaks, she means it, and she puts her entire self behind it. So to Lynn, thank you. Thank you for every good deed you do, and they are too numerous. I couldn't begin to mention them all. Thank you.
State Senator Oppenheimer, thank you so much. I'd now like to ask Assemblyman George Latimer to come up and say a few words for us. George?
Thank you. It's terrific to be here. Everyone's going to say the same thing on this beautiful day, and a thank you to Helen, and of course to everybody who's been involved in this project. I've had a chance to see some of it as it's developed along the lines. There's a phrase that's best identified with Robert Kennedy that's actually a paraphrase from a George Bernard Shaw play, and Robert Kennedy used this all the time in his campaign 40 years ago. Some men see things as they are and say why. I dream things that never were and say why not. We're here today in an example of dreaming something that doesn't exist and saying why not. And at a time when most people are contracting on their dreams, they're looking at a practical financial reality in the world and saying, this isn't the time to dream, this isn't the time to look forward, let's retrench. So I think it's particularly notable that the vision that Helen and the members of the board have had, the vision that Lynn and her husband of blessed memory have helped fund, and all the other people who've helped fund this, are really making a statement. And the statement to me is I don't view this as a 55-year-old public official. I try to remember what it was like when I was 10, 11, and 12 years old, and I grew up on the south side of Mount Vernon. That's not an area that I represent. Susie and Nita both represented it at various times in their career. I grew up in a very poor neighborhood, predominantly African American, and we didn't have the kind of money to take trips. But when I got to the Mount Vernon Public Library, and I hung out during the summers at that public library, I had a chance as a working class kid to travel the world and to open up vistas that otherwise might not have been opened up to me and to any other kids. 40 some odd years later, as we embark on this project, I think of a kid right now who's living on Howard, or who's living on Hillside, or who's living in an apartment over Mamaroneck Avenue, or who's living on Madison or Grand, one of those streets in this village. There are some streets in this village that are very wonderful and very successful, fortunate people live on it, and there are other streets in this village where people have a long way to go. But this library, the extension, the amplification of the education opportunities that are going to be there for those children, give them every belief that they can have a future every bit as good as a child who lives on Orienta Avenue, or who lives in Harbor Heights, or who lives in Shore Acres. And that's really what a library means. A library means that you can grow up poor and you can still have a chance at the future. It opens a door. That's what's happening here today. And 45 years from now, I don't expect to be around. Hopefully most of you will be around. But I hope that some young person who will then be in their 50s will be able to stand up and say, I remember when this first got done and what it meant. And I may not be here, and some of us may not be here, but Lynn and all the other people who've been generous, that's when you know in your heart you've done something. We ain't going on Mount Rushmore, most of us, but if we do something of value that stands the test of time and touch your life, Helen, you'll know it was worth all this effort. So thank you for letting me be a part of it, and I know what my job is up in Albany. Get some money, if possible. Thank you.
George, we expect to see you here in 45 years, and we expect to be having a mic clipped to your suit. So sorry, you're in it. Thank you. It is now my great pleasure to introduce our library director, Susan Benton. My inspiration for working this hard on the library is watching the absolutely extraordinary work that our librarians and our library staff do every day for our community. So Susan, please come up and speak to us for a few moments.
Hold it. Oh, can I just hold it? Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Helen. Oh, no, right. Sorry. I am always so pleased to hear our elected officials speak about public libraries. I've had the pleasure of hearing them several times this year, and they really say everything that needs to be said about the value of public libraries. They have done an outstanding job this year supporting this particular library, so thank you. We are going along in an excellent project that's going so well. We have had many people help with this project. The Mamaroneck community, for one. That's right. The Mamaroneck community has been so supportive. Our library patrons use the library. They have input into this project. They ask questions. They have ideas. And there is a great interaction in this library between the patrons and the staff. They have given us ideas all along the way. I want to thank the Village of Mamaroneck for your support and your guidance in this project. You know, we couldn't do this without you. I want to thank our staff in particular for continuing to give great service through all of the changes, all of the planning, cleaning out. They've done such a good job, and our staff have participated in the planning of this new facility because our architect, George Schieferdecker, and his firm BKSK have included the staff in the planning. Also, the staff members are working hard to get the temporary library ready now. It is at 102 Mamaroneck Avenue and will be opening 1 week from today at 10 o'clock. Finally, I want to thank Helen Rafferty for her great leadership, our library board, which is superb. It is so wonderful to work in a project where everyone is 100% committed. That's a rare experience. And our board members each bring a special expertise to this project that we are very fortunate to have. And I will just close by saying that one of our trustees about 3 years ago made a wonderful quote, and I've always remembered it. Jeff Megan said that with this project, Mamaroneck will have the library it really deserves. Thank you.
Throughout this project, our mayor, Kathy Sivolt, and our trustees John Hofstetter, Tom Murphy, Randy Rabinowitz, and Tony Pergola-Ryan, have offered invaluable advice and support. I'm very happy to have them with us today, and I'd like to ask Mayor Sivolt to come up and speak on their behalf. Mayor. And I will.
Good morning, everybody. This is truly a celebration for the community, and I am really honored to be here, to be the person who represents the community during this celebration. This library is currently the centerpiece of our community, and the new library will continue to be so for everybody. And what I'm most excited about is that this is a project by the community, for the community. Our library board, Helen, thank you for all your tireless efforts. Carolyn Pomerantz is here. I know there are many board members here, and I'm not going to name them all. But you do a wonderful job overseeing this precious jewel for us. George Schieferdecker, our architect, lives right up the street. Our construction manager, I understand, is a neighbor of mine, lives also in the community as well. So what better could we ask for to have our own community residents? And let's not forget Lynn Strauss, who started this all with a generous gift. Thank you so much. You do so much for this community, and we really appreciate it. Preparing for today, I was searching for something really meaningful to say. I'm not as good at it as George. He's had a lot more practice than I have. I have to have a few notes. Libraries have always been a very important part of my life. In fact, some of you people have heard this before, but one of my earliest memories is getting my first library card. My mother is a voracious reader, and she taught her daughters to be voracious readers. And we went to the library every Saturday from the time I can actually remember. And I practiced writing my name so many times because you could get a library card the minute you could write your full name. And I was really upset because my sister's name was Karen and my name was Kathleen, and it was longer, and I was like struggling with the extra letters. And I'm like, why couldn't I have a short name? But I was about 4 years old, right before I started kindergarten, and I could finally get Kathleen out, and I can remember climbing the stairs to the children's room at the public library in New Rochelle, It's now a children's library down by the high school. And I was so proud of myself that I had my own library card finally in my life. We weren't a family that took trips. I never went to Europe until I was in my 40s. We weren't a family that had a lot of means. But I went to the library, just like Georgia did every Saturday. And I continued to do that until I went to college. All the way through, I walked to the library. When I ran out of books in the small branch of the library, I walked to the main branch of the library. From up down Fifth Avenue all the way over to Pintard on Main Street. If anybody knows New Rochelle, the main library used to be all the way down there. And I got my week's worth of books and I walked back. And luckily I had friends who loved to do that too. And to this day, I feel vaguely uneasy if I don't have a book somewhere with a bookmark in it. And I usually carry it from room to room because if I have a few minutes, I'll pick it up and read some pages. I wanted to say something, more meaningful than just my own experiences. And I searched for a meaningful quote, and there are hundreds and hundreds of very learned people from Cicero through modern time who had said something about libraries. And I wanted to just pull something up from Andrew Carnegie, who many of you may know the history of libraries. He basically funded a lot of public libraries because before then libraries were private and they weren't open to just anybody. There is not such a cradle of democracy upon this earth as the free public library, this republic of letters where neither rank nor office nor weight receives the slightest consideration. As George pointed out, anyone can walk through these doors and get an education, become somebody, make a better lives for themselves and their children. And this is really what it's all about. And I want to just thank everyone who's had a part in this project, making it happen. So many lives will be touched by this project. And not only are we celebrating the continuing story of the library and what it will do for the future, but I also want to celebrate the fact that in this digital age, where anybody can go to a computer, and many of the people who donated funds and supported this project, probably if they need something, they have a computer right in their house and they just touch a button and it comes right up. But they are still embracing this library and recognizing how it is so important for this community and supporting it, not just with their words, but with their checkbooks. And I think that's wonderful. So as mayor and representative, not just of the Board of Trustees, but of the people of the Village of Mamaroneck, and as a personal library user, I thank everybody who supported the project, who's working on it, and I'll be here in 2010, hopefully, to celebrate the new building. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Savolt. Little backstory. Several years ago, when this project was in its early stages, the library and everyone that's associated with had to withstand a terrible blow. We lost our library director of many years, Joan Grott. This library and bringing it into the 21st century and making it everything it could be for this community was her dream. And I can only hope that somewhere she's looking down and seeing it come true and is enjoying it. And I'd like to ask her husband, Joel Azarad, to come up and say just a few words. Joel. Just click this on.
Good morning. My late wife, Joan Grott. Sorry. Thanks. Was the director of the Mamaroneck Library for, let's see, about 19 years, from 1986 approximately to 2005. Her initiative was a big reason why we're all gathered here today at the groundbreaking for the renovation and addition to the library. It took a lot of determination to get this project planned and underway, but Joan had an approach to problems that made the possible a reality. Here's a typical story about the way Joan would get things done. Early in our relationship, we took our first trip to my then rather humble cabin in the rural lakes region of New Hampshire, where On Golden Pond was filmed. It was just a rustic old three-room shack, no insulation, no running water, not even a shower. All you had to, and you had to use an outhouse. Now, Joan loved the beautiful New Hampshire scenery and meeting my wonderful friends I have up there, but she was quite unhappy with the modest, primitive accommodations of my vacation home. She compared it to her life on the Canadian prairies when she was a child. Joan quickly made what she would come to call a command decision, announcing her determination to bring the little cabin into the late 20th century. We began preparing for the project in 1986, coincidentally, and finished it the next year or so. Being a Depression baby, I hesitated at the thought of the cost, but with Joan's encouragement, it came about. It was a big project. Joan found a local architect, and during the interior demolition on 2 very cold New Hampshire winter days, she was right there helping to tear out old cabinets and musty wallboard, pardon me, uncovering several mouse nests in the process, and later putting up the new wallboard and painting. In so many ways, Joan saw to it that the job got done. The result is a wonderful clapboard cabin with a fully functional kitchen, skylights, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the river, and perhaps best of all, Joan's much longed-for bathroom. I have a photo of Joan about to toss the outhouse seat onto a roaring bonfire. I wish you could see the happiness and satisfaction and a little bit of triumph in her eyes. I know she would have had that same expression on her face if she were here today. Joan's goal in life was to improve things. In the case of the library, it was to bring it into the 21st century. She would have been so pleased and proud to be at today's ceremonies. I hope you'll think of Joan Grott whenever you walk through the door of the new library, and be inspired by her unstoppable drive to improve the world around us. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Joel. And thanks again to Susan Benton, our library director, our librarians and clerks, our office manager, Mary Soto, who with Linda Bondari and all the rest of our staff have taken on a huge amount of extra work throughout this project. I want to thank our custodian, Tom Burke, who has kept this old building, oh yeah. Tom has kept this building going longer than should be humanly possible. Thank you, Tom. I'd like to recognize our library trustees for their continuing commitment to our village. Claire Walkoff, Chris Love, Fred Rosenberg, Lori Gursky, Steve Warner, Andrea Sambrook, Marcy Block-Gladstein, thank you very much. A special thanks goes, thank you. A special thanks goes to our trustees on the building committee, Carolyn Pomerantz, Jeff Megan, and Bill Spiro. To our many fundraising volunteers, I see Judy Rosner is here today and is making her husband be our photographer. Thank you, Bert. A sincere thanks. Our thanks also go to Lenny Verastro, Augie Fusco, Rob Yamuter, John Winter, and everyone in the village administration. They have again been a constant source of guidance and support, and we could not be doing this without you. I think we have Lee Stringer, the president of our Friends of the Library, here somewhere, and the Friends have done so much for so long that thank you doesn't even begin to cover it, but we thank them anyway. Last but not least, one of the keys to the success of this project up to now is the amazing professional team that has guided us. Our owner's representative, Lisa Tilney, our construction manager, George Pasillos, here with his partner, Lou Tormenta from Shore Acres. Local boy, thank you. Our project attorney, Randy Heller, who has given us invaluable advice throughout the project, and our architect, of course, Mr. George Schifferdecker, another Mamaroneck resident, who with his team, Janice Centrella, Todd Poisson, and the rest of the creative folks at BKSK have designed a truly, truly beautiful library for our community. Just to wrap it up, I know there's more people to thank. I will grab you out there if I haven't thanked you already. But we all need to recognize that we live in uncertain times, and it's very hard to predict what lies ahead. But one thing is certain. In this world that we live in, knowledge is power, and access to information equals access to opportunity. Those opportunities have never been more important than they are today. And thanks to the extraordinary work we are doing on our public library, our library will guarantee that access to information, to knowledge, and to the opportunities they provide to every single member of our community, both now and in the generations to follow us. Thank you all for your help. Let's keep working on this project. And I would now like to ask our elected officials to follow Carolyn Pomerantz, because I think she's the only person that might be able to get them to walk into this mucky lot, and take a ceremonial shovel and get this project officially started. Please.
Look how we showed up. I know. Smile like an idiot.
Can we sneak get more people in here?
Look up, look up.
All right. Bert, can you see the second row? Back over there?
Yeah, if you can't see me, move.
There you go. Can you see him? What do you think?
I got somebody, the second person, to switch with somebody.
Anybody short coming from?
What's the talk to you,
Here we go.
Susan?
Can they see you?
Bert, should we take a look at you? I want to look like I'm actually doing some work. Okay.
Shovel.
One shovel in, folks. Let's start.
What are we doing? Putting it right over there and there.
All right.
Woo, I'm whipped.
So much. I better go take a nap.
All right, are we done yet?
It's coffee break.